My
Hi,
name is
Jessica.
Hello. Yeah, I am one of the directors of franchise development. I really appreciate you taking the time, to talk to our listeners who may be interested in a potential franchise opportunity.
Happy to.
So, just to start us off, would you mind just sharing your name, your location, what year you became a right at home franchise owner, and how many territories you own?
Sure. I'm Jeanine Gagliano. Our office is located in Farmingdale, New York, which is on Long Island. We bought in 2000. The process started in 2014 and we were up and running early 2015. We started with two territories and we now have five.
Wow. Okay, perfect. So you've definitely expanded quite a bit, from 2015 until today.
Yes.
Before you became a right at home franchise owner, what was your background and your husband's background?
So I have always been in the entertainment industry. I was a television commercial producer on a freelance basis, which I enjoyed because it gave me control. I could take a job, I could not take a job. I had little kids, so I could make sure care was in place for them. My husband was a trader first on Wall Street, and then he went into a more of a managerial job at a big bank. And then we met right at home.
Fantastic. So, definitely sounds like some big shifts in your previous career.
Mm.
So, what was the reason why you decided to go with a right at home franchise?
We just were thinking about our future and having more, well, two things: our future and how far were we really going to take the careers we were in. Mine, I still love it, but it is all consuming and a lot of work to make profit for someone else and sell somebody else's products and services. Same with my husband, Tony. A lot of work commuting to and from the city, scheduling. And we just got to a point where we felt that our lives weren't our own.
Hmm.
So we decided to just start looking at small businesses, and just from reading articles and Bloomberg, MSNBC, what have you, healthcare seems to be and still is a very growing field, a very broad field. And just through some research, in-home care seemed, and the whole silver tsunami, that was attractive to us, especially since most people in this business, it speaks to them because they have grandparents and they've been through their own um, ordeal or situation taking care of a loved one. So we did our research and we came upon a few different corporations. There's quite a bit of competition out there, as I'm sure anyone watching knows. And we chose right at home.
Okay. So when you were talking to, other corporations, what was the one thing that, you were like, hey, this is the right decision for myself and Tony. We want to go with right at home versus maybe a competitor out there.
We could see the support that would be in our future. It felt as though it was very well organized. And oh, if you have a problem on this side of the business, this is your team. You have your team leader, your coach, and then just your different niches, your marketing, your website, the nuts and bolts of the business itself, business development, and then somebody else just for your state's regulations and all the red tape and laws and policies legislatively that are current and will be handled. There's somebody there to sort of dissect that and tell you or the franchisee the impact that that will have on you. So I just really liked the system, and
Mhm.
they just seem very, very invested, and more so than others, really rooting for you and wanting you to succeed.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So you started with two locations. You have five now. So at what point did you decide to expand, and what did that progression really look like? Because, I mean, five territories is quite a bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. We knew that we were always going to have initially purchased two, and then a third became available, and where it was located, it just made sense. It was right in between, one and this one. So it was free. So we were already servicing there. So number three was easy. And to be honest, four and five were previously owned. So
Okay.
that we really just wanted one of them, not two of them. But in the end, we did get two to take them off the hands of another owner. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's almost like a Monopoly game in a way. That's what it felt like with four and
Sure.
five. It just build it up, buy a hotel, buy a house, like let's go.
Absolutely.
But it is you get spread a little bit more thin and your margins decrease because you need more people and expanding more resources. But that's it. We're done. No more.
Okay. All right. So when you guys started, years back and you had the two territories, in 2015, what did your typical day look like then versus how does your typical day look like now?
Oh, gosh. Then I felt very in the beginning, just like I had my hands in everything. I had my hands in every caregiver, in every case. It was fun. I was so like hopeful and hopeful. And every time the phone rang, or corporate said it's $400 every time the phone rings. And, so I would make sure I was there if nobody else was. And it's like a baby. It
Mhm.
couldn't move itself. It couldn't get up itself. It needed to be fed. Um, and there's just that new you're now an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, so very wide-eyed and
Yes.
excited. And then and then it takes off, and the caregivers are your employees and your clients are your clients, and both need to feel satisfied and happy with right at home. And sometimes those can be at odds with one another. Just say, she fell asleep. I didn't fall asleep. She fell asleep. Why would I lie? Why would I lie? Uh, right. So then you just start to learn how to dance. You learn all these different things. So now I would say I can be more of a manager, and I
Mhm.
do still get involved when need be, but I'm able to have a first line of defense and manage from, my office, and I have somebody to have those phone calls and manage. And it's a different feeling. It's more, I just pay more attention to outside forces and minimum wage and administrative and regulations, and more what will affect my business this way than 2015, where I was like propping it up like a baby and putting my business more out there. Sometimes now I feel like, no, 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 I don't like under.
Yes. And I feel like it would be so valuable to kind of learn the whole business inside and out because I think as a business owner, it helps you make good business decisions, starting from, ground level and really, developing into where you are now. Um,
Absolutely. It's immeasurable. Just when I was a commercial producer, I started as a production assistant, entry level, and I drove trucks and I, built cameras. I did all the grunt work. But
yep.
so that when I did every level I stepped up, I knew what everybody was doing, and I knew how long it would take to drive across Manhattan. I knew how long or what was involved in traveling to LA. So from being an owner, that I remember my first orientation with the 10 caregivers and getting to know them and their reasons why, and seeing them come and go and learning their stories, it definitely helps me with my relationships now,
Mhm.
with every piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, thinking back, what piece of, support that you get from right at home do you feel is the most valuable, to being a business owner or valuable in your business overall?
They I would say they really kept their promise with our first year of getting off the ground. Our coach and the support was very integral to our success. And
Mhm.
even now, we don't call on them as much because, at some point after 5 years,
Sure. Yeah.
but I've never felt that they did not take anything that I say um, they take everything I say seriously, or if I have a comment or if I have an issue, they're very communicative. They're very transparent. They they're great. Even if you disagree, even if they don't take your suggestion or don't find something as pivotal as you do, they'll let you know. They're not going to make you wait 3 days, 4 days, or send an email. Always give us a call, and they'll answer the phone. They are definitely invested in their franchisees. Definitely.
Perfect. And like you, like I really value somebody who's transparent with me.
Mm-hmm.
I like straight shooters. It's like just, tell me how it really is and let's work through this together. And, that's something personally I've been so impressed with at Right at Home is I feel like, people do value my opinion. They really do listen. And it's just such a transparent organization,
Yeah.
and that's something you don't get everywhere.
No,
Um,
and their heart's in the right place. It really
yeah.
is. And there really hasn't been anyone that, I've gotten off the phone and have to hold my nose ever.
Exactly, absolutely. So, and if you don't mind, I know you shared, when people get into this business, it's usually because there's something personal that resonates with them. They went through a situation with their family. And I know, I went through a situation with losing my grandmother, and that's what really has given me that passion and purpose to, find great owners. So, was there a situation with you and Tony where you guys were like, hey, you know what, this is a great business model, but also really it is near and dear to my heart because of, something that you all went through?
100%. I lived with my grandmother. I called her my nanny. From when I was born, she lived with us, and she stayed at home as long as she could, as long
Mhm.
as my mother could do it. I took
Yeah.
care of her. My mother took care of her, and I would have loved for her to stay at home. I wanted her to stay, but
Mhm.
that was not my decision. It was not my house, so she went to a nursing home. My Tony's grandmother lived till 101 with a live-in aide in her home,
Okay.
which, funny enough, was a mile from where I grew up. They
Oh
both
my
came.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah. It's very strange. Um,
Yes.
so, and my grandmother, God bless, she passed away at 91, but I had to go see her, and it was just different. I just have a different perspective on in-home care, especially visiting his grandmother and visiting my grandmother. It's just two different worlds. So I'm a strong believer in having help to
Mhm.
make the time you spend with that loved one meaningful during their final years. Because when you're taking care of them, um, it's almost like a have to, it's obligatory. But if you have an extra set of hands and nanny's already taken her bath and she's dressed, and then you could just eat your ice cream instead of, okay, let's get dressed, let's do this, and then we'll have ice cream. It's just quality time, and I think that resonates for the whole family.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you sharing that. And I'm sure, that same passion and purpose for, the different scenarios, how you felt visiting your grandma versus, Tony's grandma having somebody live, with
Yeah.
her. It really is, I feel like in my heart, it really is a testament to that person. Like, hey, you know what? I can't change the way things were, but I can help a lot of other families. and really create a ripple effect in communities. And, it's kind of a way to give back and to honor your loved one,
Yeah.
every single day when you get up. And I'm sure, that passion and purpose, it helps you hire really good caregivers and really, see what you're doing as far as like the impact it's making. So, for the bottom of my heart, I so appreciate what you and Tony do because it means the world to me. And we're all going to get older eventually. And it's,
Yeah.
the that we can get in front of this now, the better chance that we have for our siblings, ourselves, our, you know, uh, children or grandchildren not to have to, go into a nursing home when it's possible to age in place successfully.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it definitely gives a different perspective, and you just see things from a different lens when you have that background. Even with even with families when they're skittish or they're vacillating, should we, shouldn't we? It's maybe it's not for everyone, and people have different personalities. Grandparents have different personalities. Get out of my house! I don't need any
yeah,
help. Or. Um, but it does help to understand what can be happening in the home and the different personalities and the family decision that's involved. So it's nothing but helpful. And yeah, when we knock it out of the park, it's
mhm.
it's just a really great feeling, because what you said about the ripple effect, it's interminable. It just goes on, families, in-laws, the greater good.
Absolutely. So if you were to think back, like at 2014, when you first started this process, what is one piece of advice that you wish you would have known back then, or one piece of advice that you think would be helpful to people, considering a right at home
I
opportunity?
I would in depth research your state's regulations and what you can do, can't do, um, uh, just what's required. Um, and I would even dabble a little bit. I would segue into labor laws. I had a really good background producing. I had to pay crews and oversee payroll, so I already had a good understanding of New York labor laws and went over time and spread it out. All these different things. So if I didn't have that background, I would be starting at a disadvantage. So I feel anyone really with any business in any state, but especially home care, the
Yep,
labor and the regulations, look and see what beforehand, so you can make an
absolutely.
informed decision.
For sure. Yes. And then I want to ask you one final question. So if you were to go back to 2014 when you first started, looking into this, would you make this decision again to be a right at home franchise owner?
I would. I
Okay.
would. It has not been easy and rainbows and sunshine and glitter every day. There's definitely been some obstacles, some challenges, but the goal was to work for ourselves. And
Mhm.
we work for ourselves, and we know if we work harder and harder, we
Mhm.
can do better. We're if we're good, we're good. Maybe we don't hey, like we're good the way we are, and we can live our lives. So I it has afforded us the control that we sought.
Perfect. Well, Jeanine, I so appreciate your time. I am so happy to see you face to face. I can't wait to
Absolutely.
meet you in person one day.
Yes.
I really appreciate what you and Tony do. It means a lot to me. And I know thousands of other people, and I can't even imagine what kind of impact you're making in your community in New
Thank
York.
you.
And thank you so much because, people like you, have a special place in my heart.
Aw, I really appreciate those kind words. Thank you. And anything you need or follow up, or I'm here anytime.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving next week.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.